Welcome to the Retirement Blueprint with the founder of 210 Financial, Phil Cooper, a program designed to empower you to live financially confident in retirement. From income planning and wealth management to healthcare, defending against taxes, and leaving a legacy. Phil shares the strategies and insights you need to help achieve retirement success. This is the Retirement Blueprint.
Welcome to the show today. I am Jen Rezac alongside the founder and CEO of 210 Financial, husband, father, proud grandfather, and my friend, Phil Cooper. We have a great show today, but Phil, welcome back. I hope you're doing great today.
Thank you, Jen, for that introduction, and welcome back to you as well. And thanks for the viewers. I'm honored to be here today. I really am. This is going to be a great show.
It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about retirement tools on the show today. And you think about, Phil, has this ever happened to you where you are trying to get a job done around the house? Maybe you've been given that honey-do list and you don't have the right tool for the job. Has that ever happened?
Let me think for a moment. Yes, that has happened before. Actually, probably a more true statement would be, I've always probably got the right tool. I just don't know how to use it. That's usually what happens. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like kids say, if Dad has a screwdriver in his hand, there's usually a 911 call about to happen. And Dad doesn't know what he's doing with the tools.
A little bit dangerous.
I can relate to this.
A little bit dangerous. Well, Phil, I think we've all been there where we've been trying to figure out what kind of tool that we need for the job we're trying to do. Retirement is no different. And if you do a Google search for retirement tools, which I have done, you will find a lot of hits. There's a lot of information to sort through. And so we want to help clear that up today. And in fact, one of the tool kits that I found, it came from the federal government, and it was from the Department of Labor. It was a toolkit that they put together, and it had resources on Social Security, Medicare, and then just some of the basics about retirement savings. So that was the federal government's retirement toolkit. What would you say is maybe missing from that list, or what are some other things that we would want to think about?
Probably most things. For example, how about your income? Where is the income going to come from? How long is it going to last? What about your expenses? What about the dreams, Jen? What about the goals? What about that special trip you want to take your children and your grandchildren to Disney or something someday? What about all of those things you've dreamt about your whole life? Are those things in there? If the answer is no, we have to find a way to put those things in there. Hey, what about taxes? That's a big one right now, right? What about inflation? What about interest rates? Probably none of those things are in there.
That's a lot of factors to think about. And you're right. That means a lot is missing from this list that I found on the Department of Labor's website. When we're talking about those tools, and Phil, you were joking earlier about maybe if you have a screwdriver in your hand, the kids are saying, watch out.
Watch out, yeah.
When we are doing some sort of task around the house, you kind of know which tool that you need. You have an idea if you need a screwdriver or a hammer. How do we start figuring out how to match up the right tools for the job we want to do with our money? I think that gets a little bit more confusing for people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the average person, they kind of throw their hands up and say, I don't know what to do. That's why we invite people to watch our show and then come visit with us, because we are experts in this area. We have a lot of tools that we know how to use that tool. We can hand that tool to you and say, this is how you use that tool. And that tool might be, maybe it's a portfolio, maybe it's a tax plan, maybe it's an income plan, maybe it's what if I'm gone from this earth plan? Who gets my stuff? And then how do I assure my family they're going to be okay after I'm gone type of plan? So visit with myself and my firm and let us not only give you the tool, but literally instruct you on how to use that tool. You know how helpful that would have been to me as I'm trying to maybe change the oil for the first time on a vehicle I've never even climbed under the hood to look at. If somebody would have been there with me to say, oh, no, don't do that. Don't touch that. Don't turn that. Instead, take this tool, put it on that bolt, and only turn that far. Your success will be greatly increased. That's what I wish I would have had in the garage. I can only imagine the listeners today saying, I wish I would have had that person sitting next to me before I did this with my retirement plan, or before that happened in the stock market, or before this did something with taxes over here. I wish somebody would have been standing there going, don't do that. Put your wrench on that screw right there, or turn that bolt just that far with your retirement plan. And that's what we offer folks by just calling into our firm and watching this show today.
Right, right. So it's important to have an idea of what our goal is, what we're trying to accomplish. That can help us figure out what kind of tools that we're going to use. So Phil, let's say the goal is generating income. That's something a lot of people want when they get to retirement. What are some of the tools we might look at if we would like to generate income in retirement?
Well, Jen, I knew you were going to ask that question, so I made a list. Isn't that convenient? So let me read you from my list of what to do if you need income in retirement. What tools should you be looking at? Hey, first one is a job. That's a real tool. You can get a job. Number two might be Social Security. That's a real income tool. Number three could be CDs, maybe some bonds, some laddered bonds, some dividends that pay stocks, some high yield investments. Maybe there's an annuity in your portfolio that could pay you some income. Most importantly, I would say it's a complete holistic retirement plan. The very first thing it should do, Jen, the very first thing it should do, make sure I'm clear on this. The very first thing your plan should do is establish your income, because without income, you don't have retirement. We need income. We have to buy the groceries. We have to keep the lights on. We've got to pay the car payments or the car insurance. So where your plan should have the tools that pay you the income, and then after that, everything else should be secondary.
And it's important for us to know there are options to help generate that income that will last as long as we need it to last, because that's the other piece of this, Phil. Even if something like a job is something that we'd like to have at some point in retirement, most likely that's not realistic for our entire retirement. We might need something else, especially in our later years, right?
I agree. We call retirement your go-go years, your slow-go years, and then ultimately your no-go years. Your go-go years, you may work a second job. You may do that dream job you always dreamed of, or maybe you always wanted to cut grass down at the golf course or something. They're going to pay you a little something. Those are your go-go years. Then there's your slow-go years. You may still be going, just not going as fast. We all probably will get to our no-go years where a job is just not an option. Health will take its toll on us, or there's just things we just can't do. So we have to have a plan in place to say we're going to have something that pays us income when I can no longer get up, get dressed, and go get that income from a job someplace. So yes, a job might be part of the solution, but it might be for the first season of your retirement plan. So we're going to have a plan in place for something else. And you alluded to something, Jen, that could be one of the most important, profound things we're going to talk about today, and that is to make sure that income, whatever tool is giving you the income, make sure it's going to be there till death do us part. And the thing is, people are living a very long time in retirement now. They're usually retiring sooner than our generation before us did, and they're retiring for a long time. So we're going to need that income for some of you 10, 20, 30, and maybe 40 years. You've got to make sure whatever tool is paying you the income is going to be there for you. It can't run out of money.
Right. Important insights, Phil, on how we need to be able to protect our income. We're helping you pack your retirement toolkit today. And when we're thinking about all those retirement tools and packing that retirement toolkit, one thing we want to leave out of that is our emotions. And we'll talk about that on the other side of the break. But first, here's how you can contact Phil and the team at 210 Financial. They have some great resources to help you with your retirement toolkit. We'll be back.
In everyone's life, there is a time to plant the seeds for a future in financial freedom. 210 Financial can help you harvest the fruits of your labor so you don't have to be worried about running out of money in retirement. Call 800-727-7754 for a complimentary retirement blueprint financial review. Again, that's 800-727-7754 or go to 210financial.com.
Your first day of retirement. What will you wake up to? Freedom? Time? Adventure? Your ideal retirement doesn't just have to come alive in your dreams. Awaken to your new reality. Awaken your spirit, your vision. It's not a dream. It's your next chapter, your future, and it's in reach. Next generation retirement doesn't happen by accident. Plan for your bright future. Awaken to what's possible.
I'm here today with Phil Cooper of 210 Financial, and we're so glad you've joined us on Retirement Blueprint. Today, we are talking about retirement tools and the things you want to think about, the tools you want to pack in your retirement toolkit. And this is such a great conversation, Phil. One of the things we want to think about with our retirement toolkit, though, is leaving our emotions behind. And it's funny because when it comes to your tools that you have in your garage, I'm guessing you don't get emotional about those. If someone needs a hammer, you grab a hammer. You don't say, oh, I don't believe in using hammers. We do that about financial tools, though. We have emotional reactions. How could that be a dangerous line of thinking?
Well, I have a prop, Jen. Would you like to see it?
I would love to. Yes.
Here's my hammer.
Oh, wait a second.
Here's the point Phil wants to make with this, okay? Yes, I recognize, viewers, this is a screwdriver. I get that, but I've tried to make this thing into a hammer. I've tried to make this thing into a wrench. I've tried to make this thing into a pliers, right? It just doesn't work. It's the same thing with your retirement plan. So people will come to us all the time and they'll have a tool, a retirement tool. And that tool might be a stock. It might be a bond. It might be an annuity. It might be a CD. It might be a whatever. And boy, they're trying to make this thing into a hammer. They're trying to make that stock into a guaranteed income stream. They're trying to make that annuity into, something. It's never going to work.
Right.
You've got to have the right tool for the right job. Should you have some stock? Should you have some annuities? Should you have a CD? Should you have potentially, but only if that tool is going to do the job that it was designed to do. This was designed to turn a screw. Now you can use it as a hammer. It's not going to be effective, and you're probably going to get a bloody knuckle, and it's going to bang this thing up. It'll do the job, but it's not going to be as good as actually getting the hammer that it was and using it for what it was designed to do. Turn screws with this. Use the right tools in your retirement plan for the way they were designed. And if you don't know how they were designed or what they were supposed to be, that's what we're here for. That's why we're inviting you to come see us.
Right. Let's talk a little bit more about some of those different tools that we might be using in retirement. If we are looking for growth potential, Phil, and a lot of people are concerned about inflation, making sure that they'll have enough money to last during retirement. If we're looking for growth, what are some of the tools that we might use?
Yeah, stock market's always been a good growth tool. It's going to be volatile. It can bounce around, and it has, and it will. But ultimately, the stock market's designed for growth. Is the stock market designed for income? Oh, not so much. It could be the hammer trying to make the screwdriver into a hammer for income. So we would maybe take a piece of the stock portfolio and do something else with some income. Maybe an annuity is a great place for your income. Stocks would be a great place for your growth. A CD would be a great place for the safety money. A money market might be something we're going to spend a car or buy a car next week on. So there's tools that are designed to do certain things. The great growth tools have been the things they've always been. That might be a stock or maybe a bond or something like this. A good income tool might be an annuity, maybe a CD. Interest rates may rise eventually over time. Those are the things we've got to look at to say, what do you want that particular money to do for you? Well, I need that one, Phil, to give me income. Great. We're going to pull this tool in. We're going to make a screwdriver turn a screw on that one. I need some real growth. Okay, great. We're going to put that one here, and we're going to make that screwdriver turn the screw on that one. So all the tools are doing exactly what they were designed to do.
And there's a balance here also, Phil, when we're talking about things like growth, which I just asked you about, versus safety. We have to get that balance right. We don't want too much in growth. We don't want too much in safety. Talk a little bit about what that process looks like for helping determine that right balance for somebody's overall retirement plan.
Well, that's different for everyone, Jen. For example, we take into account their age. How old are you? How long before you need to spend this money? For some people, it's, I got 20 years. Great. That's a different story than somebody says, I need to buy groceries next week with this money. Okay, that's a whole different set of rules than somebody who's got 20 years to go. Secondly, we take into account how long do you need that money to work for you? How long do you need it to be there for you? For some people, it's, hey, I need this money to be there for me to put my kids through college. Okay, that has a definitive time start and a definitive time ending. But if you need it for retirement, we may not know that ending. We know there's a start, but we may not know that ending. So we take all of that into account. So how old are you? When are you going to need the money? How long are you going to need it to be there for you? And all of those things need to be taken into account, and so much more. That's what we do every day.
Phil, what about tools for things like healthcare costs and long-term care? What tools might we pack in our retirement toolkit to cover those issues?
Sure. So, for example, we all know, for the most part, we all know we're all going to exit this world at some point, Jen. That's what we call life insurance. That's a tool for life insurance. If I want to pass on something to those left behind, that's a life insurance tool I use. So I can enrich, or I can help offset the loss of income in my absence. I may go to a long-term care facility some point in my life, and I want to make sure that my nest egg that I've saved goes to my family members and not to a long-term care facility. So I might look at a long-term care policy. Maybe I've got a healthcare concern, and I want to make sure that if I go to a hospital in some way, I don't lose all of my nest egg to that potential healthcare concern. That's a health insurance potential play. I want to make sure that I've got plenty of income down the road. That might be something we bring in, a tool like an annuity. I want to make sure these dollars are really growing. Feel like I got 20, 30 years to go. Great. That might be a stock tool that we pull in. Again, it's all of these things, Jen, depending on what that person's need. They may have a tool for every one of those, or at least now they'll have some tools, and then we add the rest of those tools as that person's aging through the process.
And it might feel a little overwhelming as we talk about all these different aspects of retirement plan, all those different options for retirement tools, but you have a really great resource, Phil. We have the checklist challenge that simplifies things when we can go through and check off those boxes on our checklist. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's very fun exercise. You download the checklist challenge at retirewith210.com, checklist challenge. Go out, download it. It's called Checklist Challenge. Download it. Walk through it. It will score you. It will tell you what you have, what you're missing, what you need, and that will give you a clear idea. Okay, this is what I have. Oh, I see some holes. I better fill those holes with the right tools. It's a wonderful resource.
It is, and you can find that again at the website on your screen. You can contact Phil and the team at 210 Financial. This is Retirement Blueprint, and we have Kendall's Corner is coming up next. We'll be back.
For our generation, we've always known that a hard day's work is its own reward. It's something our parents taught us long ago, and it's something we hope continues for our family. Honest work has always been a part of our lives. So for some of us, it's hard to turn off that work switch in retirement. But imagine what can happen when that work switch becomes a life switch. Look at the day that's ahead of you now. 8 hours of your energy, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, and with whomever you want to be with, at whatever pace you like. And then you realize a nice day in retirement is its own reward. The team at 210 Financial can help turn a work switch into a life switch. They can develop retirement strategies to help work days become life days and create a plan for the retirement years ahead.
Hey everybody, my name's Kendall Stahl. I'm an advisor and partner here at 210 Financial, and this is my part of the show. This is Kendall's Corner. So we're going to talk a little more tactical today. Normally that's what I like to do in my portion of the show. I know Jen and Phil give you lots of good information, but they've been talking a lot about the tools in retirement today. You know, whether it's a CD or an annuity or a stock or a bond or whatever the case may be, or like Phil was saying, a screwdriver or a hammer. You got to have the right tool for the job, so to speak. But I also like to follow that up and say, you got to have a toolbox to put all those tools in, right? And so it's very common when people come in to see us that they have a lot of tools spread around, but they're not organized or put in to a toolbox, so to speak. And so the toolbox is the financial plan, right? You can have an annuity, or you can have a stock or a bond, right? And if you just have them to have them, but you don't really know why you have them or where they fit into your plan or your toolbox, so to speak, it's really not going to make a whole lot of sense, right? Another way to say it